Hello, everyone, and welcome to Prove It To Me. I'm your host, Dr. Matt Law, except today I am not your host. I am handing this over to my friend Wyatt, who has been gracious enough to interview me about the state of the podcast for this year. It has been 1 year that we've been doing this podcast, and of course, it's actually been a couple of months since we've even posted an episode, but here we are. Wyatt, say hi.
Hey everybody.
So that's it. I'm not even leading this anymore. It's all up to you, dude.
Awesome. All right, here we go. Folks, please add in your own comments in the chat, what you like, what you don't like. All
What
the other,
chat?
well, I'm sure there's a chat somewhere. The ratings, you could review. I mean, give an honest review of what you think
Well, I mean
on
there
the
is a
podcast.
review section on Apple, I guess, and maybe on
Comment on a podcast. It's 2025. I can't give my feedback.
oh, this does go on YouTube. There's a comment section there. Okay, all
Okay.
right, fine. We can do a chat. Fine.
Can you let me host now? Thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
my bad.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and really, if you're a boy and girl listening to the show, you should not be, because I've been told that this is an explicit show.
It is.
But if you're stuck at the kids' table perpetually, it is the holidays. So if you're perpetually stuck at the kids' table, sorry, you can continue listening. We also wanted to extend this welcome to all sentient beings, star navigators, Jedi, Sith, and those bound by any unbreakable fellowship. This podcast is your gateway to a universe of infinite possibilities, so long as they can be proven by sound, just, and statistically valid research. In an era defined by cosmic quests and ancient powers, we embrace all who journey with us, from the deepest reaches of the Milky Way to the shadowlands of Middle Earth. Prepare your minds, whether your heart belongs to the Stalwart Federation, the epic saga of the Force, or the timeless tales of rings and fellowship. I am your host, Wyatt Bradbury, and if I botched this intro, I apologize. I've never actually listened to this podcast. In fact, I was told that was part of the reason why I was brought on. Because part of the reason I've never listened to this podcast, I was so offended when, in a direct quote from this esteemed doctor of public health, not even a PhD, doctor of
Oh,
public health law,
wow.
told me, looking at me in an airport as I shared some of my deepest thoughts and something that was really exciting me, he said, "You just make shit up and get it published." So
That's
I
true.
don't necessarily feel welcomed in this environment where my kind have their hopes and dreams and ideas so just instantly squashed. Nonetheless, I'm here today to aid my friend in his quest of summarizing the first year of the podcast. So here we go. My first question.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. I that was a lot, dude. Let me digest that for a second, okay? Before we really you know what? It's fine. Let's just go. It's fine.
You ready for the first
Yeah,
question?
no, it's fine. I just, that was a lot. And I appreciate the work that you put into preparing for this. That's all.
I appreciate you recognizing that. So, the first question for the third time is Santa Claus real? And what evidence do you have to substantiate that he is real or not?
I don't have any evidence. He's not real. Next question. What what is this? Do you have
Between,
any evidence?
well, the cookies get eaten and the carrots get eaten that get left on the porch,
Oh, okay. All right.
and
Yeah. Hmm.
dirty footprints out of the fireplace.
Dirty footprints out of the fireplace. You go that far?
That's what I've witnessed. It's not what I do. I don't have
Oh.
a fire. My
Hmm.
parents do. But that's what I've seen.
Okay.
I'll speak to what I've seen.
Okay.
I've never actually had to host Christmas, so all I know is what, as people have hosted me, what I've experienced.
Okay.
And everyone has had a chimney.
This is a research podcast, not a criminal investigation podcast. So,
Okay, moving on. Moving on. That's fine. That's fine. Between the 1966 original, the 2000 Jim Carrey version, and the 2018 Benedict Cumberbatch animation, which Grinch is the best and why?
what kind of question is that, man? Okay, I'll go for OG Grinch. I mean, that's the one I can put on and never really get. It doesn't make me angry at any point, or it doesn't make me annoyed. Annoyed. Angry is not the right word. Annoyed. But Jim Carrey was part of my childhood, so I appreciate that. I've never seen the Benedict Cumberbatch one. So,
Okay. I mean, it's Christmas time, so I thought we'd start off with some Christmas questions.
have you seen the Benedict Cumberbatch one?
I haven't. I haven't even actually watched the Jim Carrey one
How are you going to ask me these questions when you have no knowledge yourself?
because it's not about me. I'm just the host. It's about you.
This
So
is
our last Christmas question. and then we'll
Okay.
move into something more serious. Do you think that we are teaching our children bad safety and health practice through the story of Santa Claus flying in a sleigh, climbing on roofs, and jumping down the chimney?
Ooh, that's a deep one. Maybe? Probably. Yeah, I think so. But how many kids have died from it? From how many children's deaths can you attribute to the story of Santa Claus?
But isn't Santa Claus at risk? So you're saying that so long as Santa Claus doesn't get hurt, he's okay to continue following those practices. The ends of safety justify the means. That's what I just heard from Dr. Matt Law on
Wow.
the pod.
Okay, putting words into my mouth. I get it. All right, that's fine. Santa Claus has the benefit of magic, doesn't he? Like, isn't magic his safety harness? I don't know. I
Is
guess we did have that movie with Tim Allen.
magic
So
true? Is it real?
what?
Magic.
I don't. If Santa Claus is real, the magic's real, right? Okay.
Okay.
Sure. All right, I'm gonna go with that. If Santa Claus is real, then magic is real, and then magic is Santa Claus's safety. And since kids don't have magic, kids don't do what Santa Claus does.
Okay. It's your show. It's your answer. That's
That's
your final answer. Then that's good.
that's gonna be my advice. Yeah.
All right, kind of transitioning for a little bit, moving on to a little bit about the reason why we're here, which is not just to celebrate the holidays or have fun together, although I'm hoping people get some benefit from our banter back and forth. How are you feeling about the Prove It pod after 1 year?
Well, first of all, I would say that podcasting is no picnic. It takes a lot of work to put this thing together. And obviously, there have been periods of time where I have done absolutely no podcasts. And then there are some times where I get them out, week after week or at least every other week. It takes a lot of work. But I will say that every time that I've done one, it's been extremely rewarding and cathartic. You could say that I don't really do this for anybody else. I just do it for myself because it's my own creative outlet and it makes me feel better. But I have gotten some feedback that it makes other people feel good too. So yeah, I mean, it's been good. And I've heard folks say, and I don't know, it's not like a bunch of people are leaving reviews or anything. I get this feeling that people appreciate the content of the podcast. So yeah, listen, I had more guests than I anticipated in this pilot season. So, and all of them were extremely smart people. I mean, I can't even begin to be grateful enough for just the caliber of people that I've been able to have as guests on this podcast. So yeah, it's been good. It's been extremely rewarding, I would say, so far. To all two of my listeners, I'm extremely grateful for you too.
There's a subscribe button. You should hit that. I'm sure it's down below somewhere.
There is a
That would
subscribe button. Yeah,
help
on
us out.
YouTube.
You should. This is good stuff. I like the short, by the way. I think there needs to be more short, like more short clips. I think the clip thing, let's make this viral on TikTok. Let's make this go viral on
Oh,
LinkedIn. I like it when you post shorts. I engage that way.
I discovered TikTok this year. I've never been on TikTok before because I'm not of that generation that is good at using TikTok. Got a lot of traction on TikTok. So yeah, I mean that's it's good advice. I appreciate that. And I'll try to do some more shorts. If LinkedIn would fix their video algorithm, it would be better.
Don't go after the LinkedIn gods. They'll punish you for that.
Well,
Your
that's fine.
SSI score is going to plummet now. Have you been able to accomplish what you wanted in this year? And what are you kind of big lessons learned, things that don't spoil anything for the end, because that's kind of our takeaway. But anything for 2026 we want to maybe change up?
I would say that, each episode has been fulfilling, so I don't feel unfulfilled. It's been good. I mean, I got guests. The study finds thing was like an afterthought, I want to say, because I anticipated having more guests at the beginning, and then I realized that podcasting is no picnic, and it's also kind of difficult to get guests onto podcasts. So because of that, I kind of had to evolve to make sure that I was creating continual content for this podcast. And so I got into the study finds thing, and that was good. I feel like that's been some of my favorite episodes have been, the study finds stuff, digging into these weird, well, not weird studies. They're most of them are normal studies, but there's been some subpar studies that have been kind of fun to get into. So, and ultimately, like I said, this was the creative outlet I've been looking for. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while, and I've never really been able to figure out what exactly the content of that podcast would be. And then, so when I came up with this idea, I was like, hey, let's do about research. And I did a research podcast. So yeah, I did it. I accomplished what I wanted this year anyway.
So the study finds, it sounds like there was a lot of positivity, energy, good vibes around that. What was your favorite study to cover?
Okay, let me say this. This podcast is meant to be educational and fun. It's not gotcha journalism, but I want to say that some of my favorites have been the studies that had serious issues, or at least I had serious issues with. I mean, I started the Study Find series with this study on maple syrup, and that was fun because we were looking at the health benefits of maple syrup, and I don't know, there's all this talk about that. It was cool to see a study about it, but that one actually had an issue with the funding. It was funded by the maple syrup producers of Quebec. So I don't know. So that was kind of fun. And that was my first foray into getting into something that the news headlines aren't going to disclose to you about those limitations and funding and things like that. So I don't know. So there was also the one that didn't exist. Did I tell you about this one? I know you don't listen to the podcast, but
I get updates in other ways, folks. So I know what's going on. So I don't remember this conversation. I don't
okay,
think we.
so there was a study that I saw in a meme on Facebook, and I saw it a couple times as I was scrolling through, and it was about how being a dick to your friends strengthens those friendships. Does that sound familiar?
I think we live that pretty well.
So this was a crazy one because I saw the meme and I was like, okay, usually, when you click those memes on Facebook, usually these posters or these pages have gotten into this habit of putting the link into the comments. So you actually have to click and interact with the meme so that they get their views or their metrics, I guess, for that post. And so I clicked into the comments and the link wasn't there. So I'm like, oh, okay, so I have to go into Google. And I went to Google and I couldn't find it. I did find a news article from a local Fox affiliate out of St. Louis, and they wrote an article about this study and then didn't put a link to the study. And so it turns out this study doesn't actually exist. It's just something that it's a meme that somebody put together. It's not there. It's not real. And I can't believe that a legitimate news station actually wrote an article about this study that doesn't exist. They wrote an article based on a meme. Like, welcome to 2025, I guess. I don't know. Still, I don't know if that's my favorite though. I think my favorite, the one I had the most fun with, probably was the one that really got my blood boiling. It was the one about complacency. And I remember reaching out to you when I started getting into this thing because, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned your name on this podcast too. There were so many things wrong with this study. It wasn't just the topic of complacency. It was the methods of validation that they used. They took this survey and they handed it off to a bunch of safety professionals and said, hey, does this look good? I mean, like, that's not validation. I don't know. There was just so many things wrong with that study. And I got so heated on that podcast. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. By the way, that's episode 106. Definitely some good takeaways from that one.
It's a fun one. So speaking of Canada and food, I have a question for you. What is it about Canadian whiskey that makes it so much better in your eyes than American whiskey? Because I know you're a big whiskey.
Whoa, that is where did you, what? That is an accusation. I never said I like Canadian whiskey better than American whiskey.
I'm asking a legitimate question. The listeners want to know.
I like whiskey. I like any kind of whiskey. If I have an affinity towards a certain type of whiskey, it's neither American or Canadian. It's Scotch whiskey. And specifically from Islay, really peaty Scotch. Tastes like dirt, but it's so smoky and so delicious. I really love that. Listen, I have friends in Canada. I have no issues with Canada. Canada whiskey's fine. I don't know. Go-to is probably bourbon because usually it's cheaper than Scotch, but I don't know. How do we get on this? What happened?
I was giving you a chance to redeem yourself after picking on the Canadians for having a poor research study.
Well, look, that's not on me. That's on them. Okay. I just read the study and, the national news picked up on the study and they broadcast it. And then that's when I had the idea. Oh, hey, I should do this one for the podcast.
I
It had
understand.
nothing to do with their whiskey. It's their syrup.
I understand.
And by the way, I do still buy maple syrup. I buy a lot of maple syrup because the kids eat a ton of pancakes and waffles.
So something else, we were kind of talking about the favorite study that you covered this year. What is your favorite cover art to study?
Favorite cover art?
Yeah, so we talked about your favorite study that you covered. What's your favorite cover art to study of your extensive comic book collection?
You know what? These questions are just insane. Where are you coming up with these things?
I spent time preparing to do a journalistic deep dive on the podcast and podcast host.
Listen, I'm a quantitative researcher and okay, so I had this thing yesterday where I was playing Winter Pictionary for some reason and it was fun. It was kind of a team building exercise. That's what it was. And I think it accomplished that, but I have to admit that art is not really my thing. So I don't draw well. I don't paint well. I music I can do. Music I can do. But like visual art is not really part of my forte. I can put a PowerPoint together.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm
I,
asking when you look at graphic novels or you look at your comics, you look at your movie posters, is there a particular one that you really appreciate?
I don't know. If it's within the theme of something that I like if it's Star Trek art, I'm gonna put up Star Trek art because I love Star Trek. If it's Nintendo stuff, I'm probably gonna put that up on my wall because I love Nintendo stuff. It doesn't really have to do with the quality of the art. I mean, I guess I could look at a really shitty Nintendo poster and say, ah, well, that's shitty. I'm not gonna put it on my wall. But I don't know. I don't have a method of studying these things.
Okay, I was just curious.
These are crazy questions.
Are there any studies you wish you covered but you didn't get the chance this year? And can we see them? Can we look forward to seeing them in 2026?
Yes. Okay. It's actually one that you sent me, and it was going all over LinkedIn at one point, and it was the one from MIT, the Your Brain on ChatGPT. Do you remember sending me that? Dude, I really still want to do this one. Okay. And here's what the listeners could look forward to on this because that study made its rounds on LinkedIn. And people on LinkedIn, they love to be thought leaders. They love to latch on to these things and really make a stink and make a name for themselves about how, hey, look at this study. We're right about this. And AI's bad. And what, dude, if you look at the study, it's so limited. It's like in a lab setting, and there's like these college students, and it has to do with one specific set of stuff. It's been a while since I looked at it, but I don't remember if it was test taking or essay writing, maybe. And doing these imaging and brain scans while you're using Chat GPT, and the differences that they found weren't even like groundbreaking. It was kind of cool. And here's the other thing. MIT themselves, like they published this study, but they have this article that is embellishing their own work. And I'm like, come on, just present the science and tell us what really happened because you're making it sound like something more than it really is. And now you're creating a movement on LinkedIn of all these people that are like, AI is bad. Come on. Sorry. All right. Anyway, I do want to get into that one at some point, and I wish I'd done it.
Well, why do you think they published it? They wanted the reaction, the clicks. Come
That's
on.
exactly the thing. Why you don't do science for clicks. You do science to fill a gap in knowledge that's going to actually make a difference in the world, not polarize people for absolutely no reason. This does not contribute to progress, MIT. You should be ashamed of yourselves. I'm going to get blackballed by so many people. Like this is
And see, I'm just giving you the platform. It's wonderful.
yeah.
Uh, do you feel that you are a thought leader? You used that term a moment ago. What does it mean to be labeled as a thought leader to you, and how do you really exemplify that term, if at all?
This is a really interesting question. And I know that there should be conversations about this. If I want to look at the term literally, I think thought leadership is simply presenting an idea that causes someone else to think about it and maybe verge on thinking differently about that thing. And so I want to say the intent of this podcast has been to help people, end users, researchers, practitioners, whoever might be, think about things a little bit differently. Think about research a little bit differently. Think about it a little bit more critically. And if that has happened, then maybe, yes, I would consider myself to be a thought leader in that aspect. Does that work? Does that answer the question?
I think it gives your perspective on the question.
Okay. Oh boy. You're setting me up for failure here.
You need a fun question?
Do you have more fun questions? I thought we were done with the holiday stuff.
Well, that doesn't mean it had to be holiday. I just asked, do you need a fun question to bring you back? You seem like you're getting down.
No, I'm not down. I had to think about that one. That was, see, you're the thought leader now. You made me think about thought leadership and what it really means. And am I really a thought leader or not? I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, Is it a term that could be abused? I don't know, or they answer that either. So yeah, I don't know. We're good. I'm fine.
So my follow-up to that then is, do you think that as a profession, let's keep it simple, as a profession, we are capable of truly having thought leaders as you've defined, challenging our beliefs? Do you think we're able still in this day and age to engage in appropriate discourse? Do you think that as a profession we are capable of having thought leadership and receiving thought leadership?
I want to believe that. Yeah, of course. I mean, I've sat at enough roundtables and been on all sorts of Zoom calls or whatever it might be where we're, really diving deep into some, I don't know, challenging topics. And every time you see, so I'm bridging onto the touchy-feely stuff and not like the quantitative stuff, but, I would say if you can observe somebody saying, "Oh, I've never really thought of it that way," or you see some kind of light in their eyes. You can tell that something, the wheels are turning, something is happening, and we're really getting into something that people haven't thought of or they haven't discussed before, and maybe some actionable change can happen because of that different thought process. Then yes, I do believe there is room for that discourse and that thought leadership within our profession.
If you had a theme for your podcast in 2025, what do you think your theme would be? You use the term pilot. You've talked about a couple different studies that you really enjoyed, some things that really got you energized about. Do you think you even had a theme in 2025?
There's a couple of different themes, ways that you could look at this. Number one, I would say that the overall direction of the research creating a theme would be total worker health. I mean, we were looking at all sorts of different studies that were lifestyle and health and getting into some actual physical safety hazards and things like that. But it was really looking at the whole worker. And all of my guests were deep into the total worker health realm. So yeah, from a content perspective, I would say that. If I were to pick another theme though, it would maybe be curiosity about the research and what you hear and what you see and what people tell you. I think that's what I wanted to accomplish, was helping people embrace their curiosity.
Speaking of embracing curiosity, there's one individual that I think kind of sets the stage for curiosity in a little bit of a different light. What made Zachary Quinto such a stronger Spock than Leonard Nimoy?
Wow, dude. Wow. Listen, there are three Spocks now that are like main stage Spocks, right? You've got Leonard Nimoy, you've got Zachary Quinto, and you've got Ethan Peck. I appreciate all of them for what they bring to the table. Okay. Zachary Quinto was in technically a timeline that's not really part of the Prime Star Trek timeline. It's, the J.J. Abrams Kelvin timeline. And maybe that timeline change could alter Spock a little bit to where he's a different Spock than what we saw in the Prime timeline. I don't know, man. They're fine. They're all good. I appreciate. Leonard Nimoy is always going to be like the legend, right? That's the Spock that every other Spock has to live up to, and that's totally fine. But in real life, franchises go on, but people die. So and maybe rest in peace, right? But people die, but the franchises go on, so we have to recast characters. So I don't know, who is Shakespeare's original Hamlet, and does Mel Gibson live up to Shakespeare's original cast Hamlet? I don't know.
So speaking of franchises and people going on, what made George Clooney such a strong Batman?
Wow, dude. Okay. These are getting ridiculous. You know what? I actually did watch that movie not too long, like I want to say within the last year or so. And I know what that movie was intended to do, right? It was intended to be as campy as possible, and it was intended to be as silly as possible. And in that, they accomplished that. Does it make it a great Batman movie? No, but George Clooney did what he did, and I think he did it well. And by the way, that was what got him into Hollywood. So good on George Clooney. I think it's fine.
I appreciate the take. Thank you.
By the way, I don't have a favorite Batman. I really don't. I don't know if I think they're all. Listen, my first Batman was Val Kilmer, so don't judge me on that.
I'll make another confession. I don't think I've seen a Batman movie.
Oh my gosh.
I like Batman for the Hans Zimmer music. That's what I'm into
Hmm.
it. That's what I know it from.
Okay.
So I didn't even know Val Kilmer was a Batman, but he's automatically my favorite because of, Top Gun and what Top Gun did for me in my life. Another
Okay.
story time. But
Fair.
automatically he's got to be the best. Sorry, George. Getting back on the podcast official track a little bit, who are your biggest supporters this year?
Okay. This is a good one. I do have a few people to call out here that were pretty big supporters this year. The number one guy that I got to point out, and he knows it's coming, it's Tim Bernardi. This guy is just an unrelenting advocate for the podcast and the work behind it. Honestly, can't thank him enough for the support. So I am glad to have Tim on my side. He's a great connector. He's a great advocate for the podcast. So definitely appreciate that, Tim. Dr. Todd Lushing, this was my first guest and actually got to be on the podcast twice. Just a wealth of knowledge and a tremendous support to the podcast. I had few enough guests that I can call them all out here. So there's Dr. Manny Berengi, there's Dr. Gretchen Roman, Dr. Fred Sherratt, and Georgia Bryce Hutchinson. All of them fantastic people. I am blessed to be able to have such brilliant minds on this podcast. Yeah, they were all great supporters this year. Anybody else I could call out? My TikTok peeps. Yeah, I didn't even know I could do TikTok, but for some reason that worked. So, thanks TikTok supporters. And yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I could say you, but you don't even listen to the podcast.
No, I'm kind of like a dark horse behind the scenes a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't.
You've suggested guests. I've never acted on any of those guests, but you've suggested things and you've suggested studies. So yeah, thanks. You're great moral support, dude. Thanks.
And I mean, the second best host in podcast history after you, I guess.
In this podcast's history, sure.
I'll look forward to doing even better next year. Speaking of next year, what are your hopes for next year?
I think, well, number one, I would like to get more guests. And I think I've been thinking about this more. I've had a lot of researchers on here. I've had a couple of practitioners on here, a couple of folks that are research to practice. I think it would be good to get some folks on here that are just maybe fans of research, right? That have just found some studies that they're really interested in and want to talk about that study. Let's just get on a chat like this and talk about a study and see what's what. I think that would be good. More guests, more other people talking and less of me talking. I think everybody's kind of tired of me talking about things. And then more research. I mean, there's just so much sitting around in databases that's waiting to be tapped. It's ripe for the picking. So we could do that. That's it. I mean, every time I get to do an episode, it's fulfilling. I don't really care how many people listen to it. So let's do it. I appreciate all the listeners, but I'm not here for listenership. I'm definitely not making money at this. So this is a labor of love and a really good creative outlet for me.
Good. It's a hobby,
It's a
right?
hobby, a hobby.
You're not losing money if you're spending it on a hobby. How about that?
That's a great way to look at it. I guess that's true. I have another friend that spends hundreds of dollars on Lego builds, which honestly are really cool Lego builds. And I really, really want that USS Enterprise D that was just released by Lego, and I want to put it on this shelf, but it's like expensive and it's also out of stock. So I'll get it eventually.
Oh, you know that we have a mutual connection who works for Lego now.
Do we?
We do.
Oh,
I won't call them out on the show, but there is a mutual connection that works for Lego now.
okay. All right. Well, we could look into that. I love using my friends for personal gain.
You do that quite well. I don't need to list all of those here. Almost done. We're getting close to wrapping up. Before I get to my last question, I wanted to ask this one. Is Ross Chastain just the next Kyle Busch, where most people absolutely eviscerate and hate the guy, and there's only a handful of just knuckleheads and total losers that love him?
Listen, Ross Chastain is my guy. Okay. He's a Florida guy. He's a watermelon guy. I love Florida and watermelons. And I just really, really like the way that he races. If you don't like Ross Chastain, I've not heard a valid argument as to why you wouldn't like Ross Chastain. I mean, all of these guys out there are jerks. Okay. So Kyle Busch definitely was a great example of one of the jerkiest at one point in time, but I'm coming around to today's Kyle Busch. I'm not gonna lie. So it's
That's because
fine.
he sucks.
Well,
Or his
he
car
doesn't
sucks.
he doesn't suck. He doesn't suck. Okay. He's had his moments. It's just like Brad Keselowski. They've both had their moments where they've gotten really close this year or this past season, I guess. And it just didn't work out. It doesn't mean they suck. It just means, I mean,
Their car sucks. Their car sucks. We can say that.
well, okay, and so that has a lot to do with it too, right? How's the crew and how does the driver treat their crew? How does the crew treat their driver? So there's a lot of factors at play here. It's fine.
Okay.
I don't hate anybody. Whoa, no, mm,
You
not a
do.
Kyle Larson fan. Not a Kyle Larson fan. Sorry, Kyle Larson. Not a fan.
Oh, and Joey Logano, this guy used to be your fan up until Ross Chastain started winning.
You
And
know,
then he dumped you as quick as he could for the shiny little watermelon smashing boy.
it's because Ross Chastain is my spirit animal. Okay, I can relate to him a lot better than I can Joey Logano. Listen, it's just a thing.
Aside from being extremely creepy, that makes a lot of sense. I can see how you two are from one another. Glad we had that conversation. So now that we've gone so far off track, but we have covered the holidays, we've covered food, we've covered sports, we've covered multiple universes within cinema and sci-fi. So if there's one takeaway for your listeners this year, after all of that fantastic insight that you've given us today, what would it be?
I think that the takeaway is still be curious. If you are presented with information that confirms what you already believe, don't just automatically take it. Be curious about it. If you're presented with information that goes against what you already believe, don't just dismiss it. Be curious about it. There's a lot of things that we can uncover just by having curiosity. So sometimes that requires a little extra effort on our parts to dig deeper into it, to really understand what's going on, not just look at the headlines, not just look at the abstracts, not just take someone else's word for it. Don't just listen to what the talking heads have to say. Dig in, find the facts, and be curious about what you're hearing. I think that's it. That's my theme.
I think that's a great way to end. Ignore the talking head behind the microphone who's hosting your podcast and listen to Walt Whitman and Ted Lasso and be curious.
Yeah, that's it. And be a goldfish.
Forget everything your host just told you 15 seconds because most of it's made up anyway.
Mhm.
So, on that note, on that terrible disappointment, that's all I have for you today, Matt, as your pseudo host. Listeners, please subscribe, please comment, please like, please engage with the talk, please share again.
Do you even know how podcasts work? Come on, dude.
I do.
Okay.
I want to see Matt be successful. I know how YouTube works because one of my favorite shows is on YouTube every day. So we want Matt to be successful and keep doing this. There is a lot of great learning that comes from it. Even though I don't listen to the podcast, I still look at the studies. And I can say that personally, it's changed the way that I think about research and that I approach research. And it's made me want to go get an actual doctorate. And that's something that I think is really inspiring, Matt. You're inspiring people to go do things that you weren't even able to accomplish yourself. And so I just appreciate what you're doing for us here on this podcast, the message that you spread. And I look forward to another fantastic year for you in 2026.
Well, thanks, Wyatt. And I really appreciate you hosting this for me. So yeah, that's it. And to the listeners, as always, if you have research that you want to share on the podcast, whether it's your own or just a really cool study you found or some research you've been able to effectively put into practice, send me an email at contact@proveitpod.com. Until next time, I'm Dr. Matt Law. He's Wyatt Bradbury. Thanks for listening to the Prove It To Me podcast. Take care and stay safe, everyone.
Goodbye.
Prove It To Me is produced by me, Matt Law. Original music by Wes London. You can find this podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Like what you've heard so far? Please like, subscribe, and follow wherever you get your podcasts. And leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Got questions about what we talked about or research that you want to share? Send an email to contact@proveitpod.com. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and its guests and do not necessarily represent the official position, opinion, or strategies of their employers or companies. Examples of research and data analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based on very limited, often single use case, and sometimes dated information. Assumptions made within this discussion about research and data analyses are not necessarily representative of the position of the host, the guests, or their employers or companies. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast. The presentation of the content by the guests does not necessarily constitute an active endorsement of the content by the host.